call saying, hey, he recorded it. I know he did it. Are you able to hear me well, or is it too much background noise?
You're kind of like in and out sometimes. Like you'll be really clear, and then it's kind of like you sound far away for a brief second. So I'm not sure.
Let me try this real fast. Only because I have that extra fan on. That fan sometimes ground me out big time. Any better? We're about the same.
I can hear you clearer now.
It's like, oh, let me hit the mute button. Okay, like I said, first thing we're going to start with is somewhat of a review and some of the features, like you're saying, because you want to make DocuSign easy to use. And DocuSign is easy to use. So what I had done, and I'm getting ready to do it here in just 1 second. Share my screen. Go to the screen. Share. You can see all of you now. See, look at that. You can see yourselves, you know who's who. This is what I always tell everyone to do. If you're ever in a DocuSign meeting where you need to present something, hide it. Because you see how it takes all those pictures and makes it just one line. It's much easier to present from that fashion, so to speak. So I went ahead and made myself a dummy opportunity so that we can work with this one. And it doesn't matter what checklist, I'll go with the listing for a single family home. And then I'm going to go to my start the transaction. Click DocuSign. Now the reason I have a drop down is because I have both DocuSign and .loop connected to my accounts for multiple reasons. If you only have DocuSign connected, you won't have a drop down. You simply hit start a transaction. Put it in there. I have my password already saved. Now we're in DocuSign. Now the first most frequent surprise I've heard people come to bring it to my attention comes within, click your little avatar here, in the upper left-hand corner. Click your little avatar and go to Preferences. There's your profile. You can make sure that the time zone you have is correct. If you want to put anything on the logo, that's purely up to you. The main thing I want people to really know is the inbox. DocuSign provides you with a mailbox that you can send things to DocuSign. So if you were to go to your avatar and click on Preferences, and then to the inbox details, if you have not personalized this in the past, you probably have something with your name that it looks like a prison or a prison or something similar to in this prefix area right here. If you want, personalize it. So everything before the @mail.docusign.net, you can personalize. So I took and I put this in and I saved my changes. The reason I do this is when I receive an offer for a listing. If they're not using DocuSign correctly, they're not sending it to me through DocuSign, which most agents are, and that's not a problem. But they're sending it to you in an email and attached as a PDF file. Well, instead of having to download the PDF or saving it to my computer, then uploading it from my computer into DocuSign, why not simply forward it to DocuSign? So if I send something to this email address with the attachment of a PDF, or I believe a JPEG will also work, the PNG files don't. But when I send something to this email address, the Chuck Morris @mail.docusign.net, just simply send it. It will go into the inbox. That's what this inbox is for. As you can see, there's my personalized inbox email address. Here. People join our club. Then that's what the inbox is for. However, one thing that most people aren't utilizing, and I'm sure that Cassie, you've used it. Have you done the, you used your inbox in the past, I assume?
Have I used my inbox for what? I'm sorry.
Your inbox, the inbox feature in DocuSign much?
No, I haven't. I was just logging in to take a look at that area. I get mine, I get emails into my email account.
Right. What I'm saying is if an agent sends you an email with the PDF file for the offer, just say, most people, what they're doing is they're going ahead and they're saving that file to their local computer. And then from there, they're uploading it into DocuSign in the room itself. Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
But you have more than one option. So you can send it to the inbox and then everything will come here to your inbox. Or, let's go with this, let's go back to our just recently made up room here. I want you to note the ID. Highlight right there. You see it? If you see that ID, if I take that ID and include that ID in the subject line of the email that I'm forwarding to my DocuSign inbox, it will take the documents that I'm wanting to go into DocuSign and put them into this folder, into this particular room. It will go into room docs, but instead of having to go to the inbox and look for it, it will be in the appropriate room. Every room has its own ID. So if I wanted to send an email with a PDF, let's see if I can with a PDF. There we go. I'm going to forward this email. It knows my email address, and I'm going to go over here and get the ID. So all I have to do is send it to my DocuSign, my mail.docusign.net inbox email address, and then simply append the folder number and the subject line and send. Now, okay, it may take a minute. It's not going to be instantaneous. If you've worked with DocuSign long enough, you know there's always a delay. But what will happen is the PDF that was attached to that email I just did will appear right there. So instead of having to download that PDF to my computer, then upload that PDF into DocuSign, simply send it to DocuSign using your inbox email address, and then putting this, and it tells you right there, if you copy and paste this room ID into your email subject in order to send documents into this room. So those are your, like I said, we have two ways of doing it. If you don't remember your ID number, but you will get to the point where you'll know what your inbox, you're going to personalize it. You can make it whatever you want. So you can either have it go into the inbox, and then from the inbox have to move it to the room. But if you remember, I started with, I'm lazy, and I want to look for the least amount of steps that I can. So I'm going to forward the email to the email inbox address, and then put the ID in the subject line. It shows up in the proper room that I need it to. Now, when I normally have my rooms made up, the room docs being that that's the catch-all, that's the filter for every room in DocuSign. You go to the Documents tab. This is the catch-all. This is their root or default folder. It's always going to be there. But that is one trick getting that into DocuSign. That was something I've had to show quite a few people in the past week and a half. By the same token, when you are in DocuSign, my recommendation is always start in the details tab. So whether you are the buyer's agent or you are the listing agent, it doesn't matter. Start the details tab, fill out as much information as possible. If you're the listing agent, you can put down the seller, and I'm actually going to put an email address in. Just something so they think it actually has an email address. So I have at least a dummy email address in there. When you're filling out the right-hand side, these are the room participants. So you can minimize that, fill out the information for seller 2, minimize that, get to the list agent 2, so forth and so on. Buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer agent 1, buyer agent 2. Instead of trying to go all the way down all the time with the scrolling through I start shrinking these. I'm like, it makes it so much easier when it comes to me. And then maybe I have to move a little bit. This piece of information right here, which says location, this is the one piece of information you need to make sure you fill out if you don't fill anything else out on the left-hand side. These are the details of the transaction. Now you can put the listing date, the listing expiration date, when you're making an offer, when you make the offer, how much you're making the offer for, what's the earnest amount, who's the closing or escrow agent. And you can put these dates in so that it'll populate in your as-is contract. I've never used the high bid confirmation. I've very rarely used the closing details. And every once in a while, I put in the property details. The fields that we're looking to have added by DocuSign very soon are the property ID or the PID and the legal description. Those are 2 fields that we're hoping to get very soon, so they will fill out their documents for us. I'm going to go to this document simply to show you this next little something that wasn't available to us. I think I saw Tiff before. Tiff, you knew about the in-person signing, correct? Because I know that when we had .loop before, and when you did the in-person signing, it was not as tedious as it is with DocuSign. However, when we first went into DocuSign, they were telling us there's no in-person signing. Well, there is in-person signing. We just have to do it a different way. I think she's talking because she's muted. Are you muted?
Hi, Chuck. No, I know that they've had it, but I haven't looked into it.
I want to show you how easy. If you remember .loop when we did in-person signing, you simply click in-person signing, who's signing, and you hand the computer over. And it was that simple. One of the complaints that we really got from a lot of agents is, where's the in-person signing? We really need this in-person signing. So this is the trick for in-person signing. Please understand this is only one document. This is not something that needs signed in the mobile. This is just simply an example, but I'm going to use this because it is a PDF and we have it on hand. So we're going to go ahead. I normally work them for individual documents. I can right click and click on DocuSign. I can open the document, click on the other actions, and go to DocuSign. Or select the dot, have the little sub menu here up here, go to the pen and DocuSign. We'll create an envelope. Generally, you're going to want to make sure if you're going to use in-person signing, that the envelope name is sort of specific. So I'm just going to say Daisy in person. then I'm going to add a recipient. And the reason that I can add a recipient and not a free tag role is because this is a flat PDF. I'm just going to put Daisy and selected. Normally, I would put a personal message when I'm sending something out to one of my buyers or sellers. Please DocuSign the offer package, or please DocuSign the listing paperwork, something of that nature. I would put a personal message. This is purely up to you. You don't have to. However, as we on the Denver Morse Home team have found, we don't remove please DocuSign from the email subject line, because if the customer says they can't find the email, you can always tell them to look for please DocuSign in the subject line to see if they find their spam or junk email, which is generally what's going to happen. So I've got the document in here. I've got the customer. I'm going to go next, just like I normally would to set up an envelope. Come up, and I'm just going to say, that's the name, and this is the owner. This is the owner's name again. Now on DocuSign, where it says here, this is property owner. So it should be the same as here. You don't have to make a text box so that the name shows up. When this says full name, when it is received by buyer, seller, or anyone else who has to sign it, they're going to see the name that's up here. They're not going to see full name. Take it, date signed. So once you have everything set up the way you want, I put the property address. I normally would do that as a text box. I'm now going to hit back so that I'm back here. So I've made the placement of all the signature and initial fields that I need in there. Now I'm going to click Save and Close. So that's the name of our envelope that I want. So is everybody with me up to this point? Anyone that needs me to go back over something, let me know.
Would it be the same, you'd go through the same process even if we did it the first way you showed versus the second way, like to access the pen?
Right, you can do it no matter what. If I do this, it goes to the same screen next. If I did this, it's the same screen. And if I did the open and went to the DocuSign, it's always, the next step will always be that same next step.
Okay,
And
perfect.
especially with the single document.
Okay, and
I'm
then
just showing you different ways to get the DocuSign.
perfect. And this might be a follow-up thing that you're going to say, but what if we set it up for an in-person? Because I know you did a room participant versus the email. What if the plan is to do in person, something comes up and then they say,
Sure.
let's email it. Is it a simple change or do you have to redo everything?
No, that's the sweet part. See, the reason we can't do in-person right now, there's no option. So either they sign it, they get to see it, they receive a copy. Needs to view means what's going to happen is they're going to get a link that opens it up, it lets them see it, but nothing else. Once they've seen it, it's done. They can't see it again. Receives a copy, sends them a link where they're able to download the documents that are in the envelope. Specify recipient, I'm not going to go into right now, but that's the way it should be done. So that if you send it to it, if you are we'll just say the buyer's agent. I'm the buyer's agent, I have my buyer sign. Then I want to send it, I would add each of the sellers underneath here with just their name, and then say specify recipient. So the listing agent, I would basically send it to the listing agent, tell you need to specify their emails. I'm not going to ever see their emails. He's going to basically forward the email to them. A lot of agents don't trust it. So I simply, if I were going to be sending this to, let's say this was, I'm the buyer's agent, I'm going to be sending this to the listing agent after the fact, I would add them here. I would put the listing agent, which is say, I put their email address here, and then I would put receives a copy. So when I do my buyer's pack, when when I have my buyers sign the paperwork, I make sure everything's ready to go. So once they sign, I'm ready to send everything at once. I put in my pre-approval letter. I put in everything that needs to be in my buyer's offer in the envelope. I don't make them sign the pre-approval letter. They don't need to. If they sign what they need to sign, I have everything in this one envelope. Then once they get through signing, the next person, I change this number. But once I change the number, once everyone that's number 1 or 2 or 3, whatever before, has signed, they receive a copy. So automatically, once it's signed, I know the offer's been sent because I had this with the listing agent. So I'm not waiting on an email for them telling me we finished. Then I can put everything together and send it to the listing agent. I did it already when I created the envelope. I make it one step. It's lazy, I know. But now that we're here, we're going to hit save and close. Now, how are we going to do the in-person signing? This is the step that they kind of discovered for us. You go up to your avatar, and you're going to switch to e-signature. If you ever log into DocuSign.com, this is what you're going to see when you first log into DocuSign.com. And then if you're here, you have to click here and switch the rooms, which take us to where the command normally takes us. Go over to Manage. Daisy Duck. Please DocuSign. So I'm going to take this and go continue. Now it's going to act like I had to do all of this again. Except I'm going to go right here to where it says needs to sign. You see all the options now? In-person signer. Yes, I am the host. It's my DocuSign account this is being done from. That's all it's basically asking. Then I'm going to click next. Everything is still where I left it. I don't need to do anything. So I'm going to click send. This is with the person sitting here with me. The first thing you're going to see is this pop-up window. Charles is assigned me as the host for Daisy Duck, who's our listing or seller. As a host, it tells me I'm basically handing control over to the signer to sign. They're going to take control. They're going to log in. I'm going to have to log in afterwards to complete. Please pass control to Daisy. Here you go, Daisy. She gets it. She looks at it. If she wants to, she can read the electronic record and signature disclosure. And click there that she agrees. And then click continue. And she's going to come over here. And if you notice, remember I told you what they were going to see. Daisy Duck. They're not going to see full name. They would see the name that's in DocuSign. So Daisy clicks here and asks her to sign. She clicks it. Do you want to accept this as your signature and initials? I do. She clicks finish. If she wants it, if she wants to have a complete copy, she can put her email in there. I'm still logged in, so I'm good. But if you notice, it's no longer there. So let's go back here. Remember I told you you have to click your avatar. Go back to rooms. This puts us in what we're used to seeing from going in from command. Let's go here. And let's look at our documents. You see now it's signed. So for those who have not seen what it looks like when you have any document signed, but it's a flat PDF, it's going to say PDF. But once it's been signed in DocuSign, there we go. But that's kind of the only extra step needed with respect to in-person signing as opposed to .loop. Is the fact that you kind of have to go back into the envelope, on the e-signature side and hit next, almost like you're going to send it. But before you hit the next to send it, you're actually going to change it from needs to sign to in-person signing. Any questions on that? Because that will help you if you're sitting there with them, putting things together. And generally, and I always say, when I have older sellers who are, if they don't, I don't know about if I get my email. Well, we can sign everything right here. Let me put everything together. That's when it's kind of helpful with the husband-wife team. She's talking to them. I'm putting everything together on the back end. So that is the other trick I was telling Cassie when she was the first one on that we were going to go over was the inclusion of the in-person signing in DocuSign. Does anyone have any questions on that? Because I personally am stoked because I do use it now. So any questions on the in-person signing? And just in case you do have a question, right, or I went too fast, and you can go to answers.kw.com, command support, and if you type in what you see, where's it? DocuSign. I'm trying to see the day. In-person signing for DocuSign. So just about anything you really need to know, if you look at it and go through the pictures, they go through, make an envelope, they do whatever it is they need to do. Like we did, we added the documents, needs to sign. And once we had everything there, we did save and close. The only step they didn't do is what they got here. We went ahead and put the initial signature fields in place. They do it a little bit later. They go here. They switch it to in-person signer. And then this is when they drop their fields into the documents. I personally would rather do it in the rooms part of the envelope, because if it's a form and we need to change something, I'd rather I can go back there right then and there as opposed to leave the e-signature, go back to rooms. Or I'm lazy, I'd like to do it the least amount of steps possible. If they go through, and you can watch just a little video, you can change the font, you go in there, there's so many things that you can do with a little security. Pass it here, they accept that, they click continue, they click start. Do you adopt the signature? Everything we just went through is in this document. So if you have, like I said, if you ever have any questions on something in command and you can't reach me, I will apologize. I will try everything as soon as possible. However, between doing our business and trying to help everyone that I can, I do get backed up or I get a little bit busy. So my apologies if you call and I'm not able to answer. Yes, I'm on the motorcycle, so I'm not answering the phone on the motorcycle. Avoid it. So, but I will get back with everyone as soon as I can. I do try to. I'm not perfect, no way, shape, or form. You said that you've used DocuSign in the past. Actually, you know what? Cassie, let me redirect my question. Tiffany, let's see if she's still there.
I'm here.
How do you do your folders in your rooms? Is there any setup that you have per se? And the reason I'm asking is I know that you're pretty proficient with DocuSign also, but I'm just curious, do you have any practices that, because I want everyone to learn from a variety of people, not just me. If anyone that doesn't know, Tiffany's probably the best damn team members you'll ever meet. And we're not, Stacy got her first, but the rest of us want her in a heartbeat.
Thank you, Chuck. I actually don't use the rooms like this. I've built all my own packages and they auto-populate through Adobe. So It takes me 5 minutes to fill out the contract or listing agreement, whatever it is. And then we send through our own DocuSign account. So I don't really use the rooms because we store everything in a cloud. That way Stacy doesn't ever have to go into DocuSign or Command.
That makes Stacy happy.
Yep.
For anyone that if you're going to watch the classes that I've done, that I've recorded, and I'll put in the chat the link again with the training room. There's at least 2 to 3 videos with DocuSign. 1 or 2 of them I go in really in depth. Something that someone's asked me with respect to my rooms. How do I organize my folders? Because I like everything in chronological order, if I can. And finally, get this guy to accept an offer or make an offer he will stick with. But this is a buyer been working with for quite some time. And as you can expect, there are several folders. So, I have a folder for every offer that he's made. I have a folder for the forms, because as a buyer, if he makes more than one offer, I have to reuse that form, the as-is contract, and things of that nature multiple times. Then, of course, there's the folder for the room docs, which is, like I said, the filter or catch-all. So, I have a history of all his offers that he's made. These are all in chronological order. When I create a folder, especially for my buyers, when I go over here and say action and folder, this one's number 6 that he's on now. The next one would be 7 space, whatever the address is. That would create. So that the next one, if he had another one come up, it would keep it in order because DocuSign likes to organize everything in alphabetical order. So I have the documents for each respective offer in that address's respective folder. I have my forms that I have to reuse all the time in the forms folder. And then if we say the catch-all filter, the room docs. If you remember when I first started, I said I like to keep that one empty at all times. I like to keep room docs the way that I found it when I created the room, empty. And the reason is this reminds me when I have to move things to and from. But you can always collapse your folder so you don't see what's in them. On this particular one, I don't need it. I can delete it. I can delete a folder. I'm not going to be able to go in and delete all these files. So I wouldn't go in here to delete this folder. Just they would throw it for a loop. For a listing, let's go. Okay.
Hey, Chuck, I'm sorry. I think I missed. Sorry. I think I missed how because I was pulling up one of mine that I knew I did a buyer that we put 2 different offers in before we got one that closed. How did you get them out of the room docs? How did you show that you got, like, you kept yours at 0, mine's at 24 for this one person?
Okay. Let's say, like, for example, I just got this signed.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put it in there. Right. Actually, you know what? No, it's easy. I need the hashtag. I'll go back to that one we did before, which is ironic because actually I do need it. This is the one that's needed for. So, you know what? That's kind of a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, ignore it. Now we wait 100 years for DocuSign to catch up. It's usually the second refresh. This one you can do one of two ways. So you're going to do it one of two ways. One is not allow wait for it to show up. You can click on a document, drag it. So if it's down here, Room Docs, I can drag it up to the appropriate folder. That's the reason I collapse all these folders so I don't drag it to the wrong one. Like maybe I didn't put it in the wrong folder. I may have. Nothing like live video, everyone. Much as the guy that's listening to what he's doing messes up. Let's just see that. This is the rest of it. Slow, slow. As soon as it shows up, I'll show you. Another way is when it shows up in the Room Docs, I go to the dot. This is what you're probably using, Cassie. Are they all for one folder or are they for multiple folders? No, you said you had 20 something.
Yeah, and the one I currently have, because I didn't know about that, like I have a folder for the first property, then a folder for the second property. So it's a mix up right now of the two properties under Room Docs.
Yeah, not a problem. So let's just say that you determine which ones belong to which folder. So let's say the first 12. Let's say these, like the first ones here, are for the folder 1. Select those particular ones. Whatever one's for your first folder. This is move.
Okay.
Click move. It's going to ask you, where do you want to move it? You're going to move it to a folder in the current room. Then it's going to ask you what folder. Then you can put whatever the appropriate, where it would need to move it to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Move. And it's great because, like you say, in your instance, if you have 12 that need to go to this one and 12 that need to go to another, select the individual ones, then move them. And when you click move, it's going to ask you where do you want to move them to. Move them to a folder in the current room. And then when you move it to a folder in the current room, it's out of the Room Docs. Which evidently I can't, there. Oh, you both said one now. Actually, this is fine. This will be good. So in other words, I click it, I drag it. I want you to watch the border. You see how we have the light blue square now, or rectangle? See how suddenly the border goes dark blue?
Yep.
Once it's dark blue, drop it, let it go. Successfully move document to the folder. I think part of it's because I'm still testing this edge. So see, it's been moved. Or click, move, folder in current room. Which folder? Move. Because you can only drag one at a time. There was a point I was hoping they would let us like put like 4 dots and then grab one like Windows and drag it all over at once. Doesn't work that way. It's been requested.
Cool. Thank you.
That's a neat little trick though, and it comes in handy. But that was the DocuSign tricks that we were going to cover. Like I said, those are the ones that I've been really showing people a lot, one-on-one. So I figured if I could get it recorded per se, and then Sound Tips she's got a nice little setup. But if I remember correctly, Tiffany, you guys are paying Adobe, you pay for Adobe Pro or something, right? I'm trying to remember, or is it think it's Adobe Pro that they're using. But they have a nice little setup. They basically fill out a questionnaire, which is very similar to what we used to do in .loop with the details. And it fills there, it basically pre-fills most of the contract and everything out for them. Now let me ask you this. This is one I thought of yesterday because it came to my attention last night. Is anyone here using the COVID disclosures that were provided to us by the broker? There were two disclosures. One was an in-person acknowledgement, and one was just more of an overall disclosure. Are you using those disclosures? My reason for asking is that you probably want to, while the pandemic, while it's still an issue, I would highly recommend adding them to your documents that you send out. For example, here's a recent buyer we're working with. See, I got to move all this because now they see it's buyer docs. So I need this. This will be for you, Cassie. A lot of forms because they are all forms. See the fact that they all say form. I want all my forms because if I had to reuse these, like if I have a pre-approval letter, it stays in the buyer docs. This was the buyer's presentation and things that we sent to them. I really don't need that. I'm going to archive along with the certification. I don't need to see them. That's the only reason I'm archiving them. And then I'm going to go. This is the COVID in-person acknowledgement, which is the 2-page. And you go through and acknowledges that we're going through, there's a pandemic, you're assuming there's risk. I have my buyers sign it. So, and I present it to where we go to for showing. I'll bring a copy and leave it, and I'll first email it to the other agent. Sometimes they ask me just to bring it in at the show when I do the showing. However, we're doing everything by CPC guidelines, and we are assuming the owner and listing agent are doing the same. It's a little bit of a CYA. This one I have for every open house. I have a signed copy by my sellers. Anyone that wants to come into an open house has to sign that one, they know that during showings, open houses, inspections, whatever, people may enter the property in which the buyer is interested, and some of those people may have been exposed to COVID. They can't come back and sue the seller or the agent because they signed a disclosure. They knew there was a possibility if they went in there that someone that's been in there may have been exposed to or had COVID-19. So if you're not using it, may I recommend start using it? Murray gave them to us for a reason. Move all these. So if you check, I'm trying to think. Where now my next folder, I know Cassie said, all right, what are you going to do with all you have there? My next folder will be one, whatever the address is that they make an offer on. Because I like everything in chronological order, so when you follow up, you'll know what it is that as far as my buyers and sellers. What I have done with those two disclosures is I have created templates. What a template is when if you use a form and you say, I want them to DocuSign, and I'm not going to create the download, don't worry. But when forms and the flat PDFs are what you find in documents, templates are maybe it's something that the brokers provided us. This these are going to be, in a sense, pre-populated for me as much as they can. And they're going to say TMPL, which is the template. Tag roles, and the reason I can use the pre-tag roles is because these are, I have at least one form. I'm just going to do this real fast. And you can play around your DocuSign all you want. Like this envelope that we're creating now, I'm going to delete it. But for showing you how it works, this is the preferred buyer agreement. Okay. I'll try to put up this. Here's the disclosure. It's the only thing I generally do is make sure that's in alignment. I don't know why they can't get that right. It puts the brokerage. Now let's say that I know who it is that we're going to see. I can go ahead and put a text box for the listing brokerage and then how the tax records get the owner's name. But if I just show up with this, and it will have the actual buyer's name there again, like we did before. It will have Christopher Chad Kelly in there. It won't have full name. And I'll make sure that's in alignment. But I have those disclosures, as you can see, it pretty much, there's not much to fill out. These are the ones that maybe has one or two fields that the only thing we normally change is the buyer or seller's name. I mean, I almost wish we did the buyer seller's agreement this way as opposed to how we've done it now. But when I send this, it's the same as a form. So now I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to use this. But does anyone have a question on templates right now? Just simply how you can add one. You see how I just simply use a template. Since I had them set up, they're in there. I had the seller's property disclosure where now the seller can actually fill it out. You're welcome. I had to create it as a template first. Since I'm not keeping this envelope, go to actions. And there's no template there. Now, in order to create a template, that has to be done on the e-signature side. Switch to e-signature. Slowly but surely. Templates. So what you're going to want to have, like I took our escalatory addendum before we actually got it added by DocuSign, and I added it to as a template. You can add, if there's like if you have a team form that you use, maybe it's a utility form or something. Who does? But you have something that's pretty unique to your team, and you want to add it so that the signature and the special fields are where they need to be without you having to place them there. Use a template, because you're going to take a flat PDF and you're going to say, "This is where I want it. This is how they create the forms." So in .loop we called them templates, but they weren't templates; they were really forms. However, with the signature, the initial, the date sign, all that stuff is pre-filled. This is what you're going to do with a flat PDF. I use this PDF all the time to get this information, or get them to sign that. This is where you create it. All you have to do is go new, create a template. It's going to ask you to upload a PDF. You can call it whatever you want to call it, template. You can say, whatever it is. Then you're going to go in and talk about who needs to sign it. So you can say seller 1, seller 2, and you have to spell out 1 and you have to spell out the word 2. But you can say seller 1, seller 2, and you don't have to put name and email because you don't know it right now. This is for future use. So I put I did it like that. When it sent this out, both of them had equal, it was first come, first serve, who signed. Or if I want to do this, see it. Signing order. There's every once in a while they're working on allowing us to change from here. But right now, I want them both first come first. But if I wanted to make sure that seller 2 got it second, seller 1 got it first, whatever, I have that control. But once I've uploaded a PDF to make a template, let's see if I got any PDFs. I'm sure I do. No. I have a crap there. What this is. We're about to find out. Oh, okay. Yay. And I hit next. Then let's say that I need seller 1 signature here. I'll put the date sign there. Then seller 2 signature here. Of course, their date sign. Let's just say this is what I needed. And I save and close. Save and close. So now I have an example. So if I go back to any of my rooms, create an envelope. Let's go back to Daisy. Go to envelopes, create a new envelope. Use a template. Templates. Oh, there it is. Got it. If I want to view it, this is what the template looks without. I want to add a row, chat, that, click next. And they'll have her fields filled out. If there was a second seller, the other one would show up also. So that, if you're using a flat PDF for any reason, on a consistent basis, there's no reason why you can't create a template on your own. You don't need anyone else to do it for you. So I know there's about 20 questions on templates, so I'm going to wait and have everyone go off mute if they want to and ask their questions. The questions are just overwhelming. Well, let me ask you this, for those who I can see on the camera. Doesn't that look pretty easy to do?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole thing. It is that easy to make a template. And I don't remember. Say for example, Brian's team. I think you guys do have templates you use, right? I know some of the different teams have something they always, like almost like a disclosure type form that you always use.
Chuck,
Yeah.
it's Carlene. I haven't used a template. So that was interesting to learn today because I haven't used that. I've just been going into the docs that has been created by the office or MLS. So we don't have our own specific, so that was cool to learn today that, we can use it.
And that's why I used it for the COVID. So I didn't create anything. I'm not writing, I'm not practicing law. But the COVID template, we're not going to be using COVID forever.
Right.
But Marie did recommend that we use the COVID template, those 2 COVID disclosures while the pandemic is still going on. So I said, you know what, instead of anyone that's worked with DocuSign knows when you do an envelope and when you put a flat, if I were to put just a simple flat PDF, so if you just add a, so, flat PDF, so go back. I just want to PDF. Okay, there you go. I'm gonna create a whole new envelope instead of putting it in one. So if I wanted to send it to Daisy, if I'm going to send it to her to sign, when I click next, I'm going to have to drag the signature fields and the initial fields over. So pretend that was the COVID disclosure I just sent.
Right.
Nothing's here. But if I make it a template, I will make sure it says property owner's name, and the name would be here again, and then the owner's signature, the date. Maybe the only thing I would have to add would be the property address. But this way, because right now I'd have to go, okay, I got to do this, then I got to do this, then I got to do this. See, I'm doing all these extra steps. Put it in a template if it's something that you're going to regularly use.
Got it.
Makes it so much. It's already the only thing not filled out. Of course, here's the date and the property address, but you can make sure that all the common fields on those COVID disclosures, all they need are, if it was in the buyer, seller, whoever you're representing, their name and signature. That's it. So it's not like you're putting tons of information. Well, that's information that's already in your DocuSign room, so you really don't need to have to keep filling that form out. If DocuSign can do it for you, it makes it so much easier. And as I said at the beginning, when I say I'm what, Cassie?
You're lazy, so you like to make it easy.
Well, do we have time to sit here and make the system is supposed to work for us, not the other way around. Think about it, the computer. My wife gets so, the boss man's coming in now. Now we're in trouble. The boss man's here. Mama called it. How you doing, Curtis? How you doing, brother? Should we go over that again for Curtis, or should we let you show it to him, Curly?
I'll show it to him.
If not, I am recording so he can see it.
Okay.
Basically, Curtis, what we just went over is I was sharing with everyone, if you remember that Murray gave the offices 2 COVID disclosures. One was an in-person acknowledgement, one was just a general disclosure. And he asked us to use those with our buyers and sellers. And I just put the question out there, who's using it with their buyers and sellers? Once the dust settled, the crickets quieted down. I showed them that one, we use it for all our buyers and sellers. When we hold an open house, we actually have copies. So I'll send it to my seller, DocuSign. Then I'll print out copies so the seller's already signed. If you want to come into the house, you have to sign the COVID disclosure. Now, we try to make sure that everyone has a mask or gloves or whatever. I understand there's some people that can't wear the mask, or, whatever the case may be, but we've got the wipes and everything with us at the open house, but you're not walking into that house until you've signed the COVID disclosure. You can get away without a mask, you're not getting away without signing the disclosure. Because that is CYA, if you want to say, you're covering your tail and you're also covering yourselves. Because the last thing you want is somebody walking into an open house and saying, I got COVID from the open house. Because we all know right now, all you have to do is make the accusation, and you're already guilty. It's no longer innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty. They just post it on Facebook. Next thing you know, you're guilty. So, highly recommended. That's up to you if you want to. I know that Murray gave them to us and asked us to use them. And I don't find it an unreasonable request. Having the templates, again, switch from your room to e-signature. Go to templates. And then either, if your template's in there, you can use it, or if you need to create, it's as simple as click, create template, give it a name, upload a PDF that you use all the time, such as the COVID disclosures. Once you've uploaded that, if you're doing it for a buyer or seller, if you notice on my templates, I have two of them loaded, one that says buyer, and one that says seller. Because what I did was I either made the role buyer 1, buyer 2, or seller 1, seller 2. Because I'm only going to be representing one party or the other. If I'm lucky and double-sided it, I can always add it later. I'm not worried about that. Once you've done this and you've made their roles, all you have to do is the role, not the name or email, simply the role. I'll just say here for this one. Spell. Buyer 1. I need to upload something. I'm just going to upload anything. And let's go with that certificate again. Then once I have the certificate up there and I have the people that I'm expecting as me, there's always at least 2 buyers. Buyer 1 and buyer 2 are the ones, and they are going to need to sign. So I'm going to click next. Now, I'm going to pretend they need to sign this somewhere, so I'm going to put signature there, date signed there. Go to buyer 2, signature there, date signed there, and then save and close. Now, the first thing it's going to tell me is I need to name it. So I'm just going to say save and close. Now, if you look on there, I now have my other template. So if we go back to rooms, like we normally are used to seeing when we come in command.
Hey Chuck, quick question. How far away is your mic? Because I'm struggling to hear you a little bit.
I think my mic is starting to go. So yeah, I need to redo my mic. So I apologize if it's going in and out. Because I'm watching my audio level and it looks like it was dropping. So I'm like, all right, let's see if I can change something real fast. Audio. Oh, I see why. How about that? Is that any better? What happened is because I have my headset plugged in and I was using it earlier on a webinar, that it was still using the microphone from there. That's what it was. My apologies, everyone. But anyway, so let's go to Daisy. We'll go to envelopes. We'll make a new envelope. Eventually. And I can use a template. And here's the one, the first one we created, which was the example. And then where's the other one? Test template. Let's see. Test example 2. There it is. I knew it was hidden.
All right, so Chuck, I don't know. I hate to keep interrupting.
I want you to.
Okay.
So remember,
now
these are not going to show it on here, but they will show them. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna ask now for like a as is contract. You can set that up. You can have that set up as well as a template.
I would never put it as a template.
No,
No.
because I just get tired of especially when you have two, uh, two parties and you got to drag over all those initials. I was
You
just
don't.
wondering if there's an
Oh, you
easier
don't.
way of doing it.
Are you the buyer's? You're the buyer's agent, right?
Correct.
Right. When you're the buyer's agent, you don't have to do any of that. When you're the buyer's agent, you're creating the as-is contract.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna pick my man here since I finally got him. I'm so stoked. You got all this information here filled out. Who's the seller? Seller wants, and all you need is their name. You don't have to put anything else.
Mhm.
And then the listing agent. If there's more than one listing agent, put that. You have the buyer's name and information. Buyer 1, buyer 2. Then, if you and Carlene do it like Deborah and I, buyer's agent 1, buyer agent 2. I make
Mhm.
sure this is filled out. I do fill this out as far as this is the offer date, this is the amount, this is the earnest, it's a conventional loan, doesn't matter, that doesn't put anything. This is expected closing date, here's the closing company. It doesn't put the address yet. And then I think the only thing I ever put, maybe some of this is the main information right here, offer details
Mhm.
and location. So when I went in to my forms, if I go into forms, the only thing that I had to fill in per se for this was I had to put in the tax ID, which we're working on. I had to put in the legal description. I did the what was included compliance wise, what was excluded. I checked the boxes as far as 3 days. I put in the the 97 and 3% for the conventional loan. Make sure that's checked. Kind of fill in those information. I put in the broker's transaction fee, put the title evidence, inspection time. But the only thing I ever really have to put in for my as-is contracts, but I have it set up so that I can add this clause to all of mine, is this clause right here, which I add to every buyer's contract. But when it comes to the envelope itself, let's just say I say DocuSign. Okay. It's my 19 other computers going on. Let's just pre-tag. Remember, see how let me do that again. Being that it's a form, I want you to use pre-tagged roles. Then I'm going to say I'm the buyer's agent. I have the buyer's information.
That's what we were missing.
Once I do that,
Yeah.
who wants to do that needs to sign. Now, for everybody else remembers, after I get them to sign, what do? I add the other agent. So let's just say I was doing the listing packet or the buyer's offer. I'm adding everything, the as is, the contingency or the appraisal contingency, pre-approval letter, the seller's property disclosure that they're going to have to sign, HOA, anything that needs to be signed for it to be executed.
Mhm.
So I'm going to send everything. I'm going to put everything in the envelope at once, and I'll show you how I did that earlier. Then I come back over here, and I'm going to put email address. And let's just say, for example, I'm putting me for now. And I'm changing this.
Yeah, well, what I
Receives
was
a copy.
doing.
Were you doing
I'm sorry, Chuck. What I was
using
doing, I guess, I was bringing it over from transaction desk. Like I'd fill it out in transaction desk, and then
That's a
I
flat
had
PDF, yeah.
keep bringing over all the initials. So that's going to put the initials. I don't have to do all of that initial stuff then, huh?
You see this?
Oh,
Lets me know the markers are already there.
yep. Okay, perfect.
And when you're doing the listing agreement, you know where it has about the not putting the address on and not using this, that, and the other. It'll even have them there, so you'd have to go and delete them if you don't want them to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the initial fields and signature fields. Everything's there.
Great.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
why we
perfect.
like to.
You just saved me a heck of a lot of time.
You know, that's funny. There's only one form I will always do in transaction desk first. Data entry form. Do you use the data entry form in transaction desk?
Yeah, I use everything transaction desk. So I'm learning how to do the DocuSign pro. I just bring it over, I just import everything into it, but
Right.
I do the form in transaction desk.
Just to show you, mouse, everyone can see. Here's my buyers, they sign. And then this is the listing agent. I send the appraisal contingency, the as is, I misspelled trail, but the writer B, which is the HOA, seller's property disclosure. I send the COVID and I send the pre-approval letter. Everything that is, that would generally listing agent's going to need is all in one envelope. My buyer signs, I know everything's in order. I'm not having to wait for them to tell me they're done, because the second buyer signs, she gets the email with a link saying, here are the documents for the offer. I don't have to do anything.
Oh, wow.
Right, but I didn't see you add. Hey, Chuck, I didn't see you add the other documents just now.
That's because I was just showing you an example, because he was talking about dragging the signature fields over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you put in a flat PDF, which is what you're going to get from Transaction Desk,
Right.
you have to, even if you're when I put in the seller's property disclosure, I downloaded it from the MLS. It's a flat PDF. When I put it in the envelope, yes, I had to drag those over. But I'll show you a neat little thing you can do. Just because a lot of people don't. I always use these test rooms for everything. So, let me add. Oh, it's a computer. I have my own personal cloud for real estate.
Yeah, I like you anyway, though, Chuck, because see, you're not a Mac guy. You're a PC guy. So that's me all the way.
So here's the seller's property disclosure that I had to download from MLS, we'll just say. So if I want a DocuSign, I'm going to add, if you notice, the option for pre-tagged roles is not here.
Right.
Because this is a flat PDF. Use room participants. Like that. I need her to sign. Like there. You don't see the little tags.
Right.
So I'm going to go initial. I'll put it over here. It looks way too freaking big. I'm going to size it. And let's just say, for example, there was another buyer on here. Just for an example. So I change it from the first buyer. I know there's only one here. I change it to the second buyer. I grab the initial. You notice how it keeps the size the same for me now that I've shrunk it. So I put, we'll just say that's 1 and that's 2 for buyer. I have both buyers' initials there. Watch this. Click right anywhere outside the box, make a little square. You see that? Everyone see it?
Yeah.
Kind of a dotted line. Now I'm going to copy. Now I'm going to go to page 2 and I'm going to paste. Oh, darn. It's at the bottom of the page, not the top. Oh, yeah. I go to the next page. I'm going to paste. Guess what? It's where it needs to be. I go to the next page. I'm going to paste. It's where it needs to be. Then the only thing I have to do now is the signatures. That's how I fly through these documents so fast. So I say signature, date, sign. You know what? Maybe I needed it on every document. Copy it, go up to the next one. It's going to put it on the page exactly where. So remember, these are all at the bottom of the page.
Nice.
So
That's
since
really
I know
cool.
they're always at the same spot on the page, you copy and paste it, puts it same place, same place, same place. That's why if you notice, when I copied here, approximate location is there. I can delete it, click it, and I can delete it. But yeah, I save so much time. The same thing with this. When I, if I needed to do anything requiring me to multiple times, copy and paste. And what a lot of people don't realize is that you can come over here and go to the specific page. This is page 1, and there's page 2. So if you had like the data entry form, 13 pages, scroll all the way down, go to there, and then put everything in there. You don't have to sit there and scroll through 13 pages. And if you have multiple documents in an envelope, it'll list all of them here. So you can go to each specific document that you need to make sure you have everything done. So did I save you any time there, Curtis?
I'm sorry, Chuck. I'm on a call real quick.
You saved him some time. You saved all of us. You saved me some time too.
The real
Well,
boss got the information. Don't worry about it, Chuck.
Yeah, I know where it goes. Been married for almost 21 years. I know where it goes. So.
Absolutely.
Good Lord made man first. He said, all right, here's your boss now. I'm making her,
That's
making a
right.
rib, and here's your boss.
Now, I do have a couple of questions that I wanted to get out. I don't know if you have time. I know we are at the hour.
Talk to me.
But one of the questions that I had was, there's system tags that are being created. And I guess I shouldn't be on. Let me show you my face. Okay, so there are system tags that are being created, and I don't like that because it just creates. How are they being created?
System tags where?
Like on my, okay, so I had someone import some names into my command from Realty Juggler. And all of a sudden I'm seeing like these system tags that said, I don't know, it was vendor relationship or something like that. It said, and I asked her, did you put these tags on there? And she said, no. So where are they coming from?
They're coming from KWRI. That's something that we'll be able to take care of later.
Okay.
Be honest with you, it came from Market Leader.
Oh.
If you remember, Edge had those tags.
Right.
So when KWRI starts building command, they go off what we've already been using as an example. Well, we had vendor, we had business, so yeah, but a lot of people, you were not the last person to complain about it. Everybody's like, I don't want these tags. I don't want them. But,
yeah.
But they're going to be removing them or give you the ability to.
Okay.
I missed that. I guess I'll get an update from Carly.
Yeah, system tags.
The real boss will tell you later, man.
Also, when I went to Kelly and I had contacts in Kelly that.
If you have an issue with Kelly, just understand.
Huh?
Understand with Kelly, the app.
Yes.
They're not dedicating a lot of resources to keeping it up to date.
Okay. All right.
Kelly,
so I'm going to leave that alone.
Kelly, the app is going away. Kelly, the app, if you want to think of Kelly, the app 2.0, which will actually be Command Mobile. So it'll be a mobile version of Command. It's supposed to be coming out. So their focus is getting the new Command Mobile out not supporting Kelly. So there are
Got
some people that for whatever reason they have their Kelly works like a dream. And then there's people like me that go, why'd they even put it out?
Well, I'm in the same boat because I don't get it. And another thing, okay, so another thing is the other day when Curtis and I was going back and forth, remember you helped us with the contacts. He was not able to edit my contact or add a spouse in his contact. Do you remember that?
Did he own it?
So I'm not sure if he can still do it now, but he said he was still having trouble.
This is what you have to do. Hang tight. We'll go back over here. Let's go to contacts. So let's just say, for example, at least you don't have this in contacts.
Is it possible I could share my screen and just show you the one that we're talking about?
Yeah, show me the one you got. Because you say it's just one contact you're unable to?
Well, it's not just one, but I'm just trying to work with the one that it is, because I sent the message into the command thing, the little question, and I kept getting an error code.
So let me see who it is.
All right, let me just.
Mama's watching, so we got to make it look good. So.
Hey, and Chuck, real quick, while he's doing that, thank you. It was nice meeting everybody. I've got to finish something up and then go get my babies, but thank you. It was a great class, very informative.
Not a problem. I'm going to stop recording for now.